I know you because you are working in PNG. I happen to be working in PNG around that time too. To leave to go start a foundation, right? And I'm not sure the foundation was able to pay you what PNG was paying you.
I think every entrepreneur needs to have a bit of magnet to be able to deliver. We had to carry our daughter everywhere we went. We had to, she couldn't walk. So it was either she was crawling or you were carrying her. And when people are immobile for a bit, they start adding a bit of weight, you know, considerable weight. So she was very big at the time. So if you look at my frame, I'm also very small. So having to carry her consistently uh, every day, almost every time, became a burden. And so I was having shoulder pain. It was, you look for every opportunity to say, sit down versus carry. And children would want to carry it anytime. So that's how, um, we registered the Irede Foundation and, had to set up a
Irede
board.
being a name, right?
Yes, Irede is her name. Her name means
Okay, it's one of our
Ireoluwa.
names.
Yeah.
Ah, I see.
So Irede is actually like an abridged version of
Version.
Ireoluwade. And
Mm,
really, it's very spot on because what we do at the foundation is actually bring goodness, the goodness of God, to
mm,
every champion, every parent, every caregiver, every young
mm,
person with disability that walks through our door. So that's
mm.
the story behind
What a
starting
story.
the Irede Foundation.
What a story. What a story. What a story. I mean, it sounds more like what you hear from is it preachers or clerics and motivational speakers, like turning your pain into some kind of purpose. I think that'll be I think that'll be correct, right?
Yeah.
Out of your pain, right? Out of your personal pain, you've been able to, you know, birth something. And I'm just, as you were sharing, I was running a quick math in my head, right? And I mean, whoever gave you that advice to set this up and really go for this, God bless the person. Because I was thinking in my head, like, say you are still in PNG and or all the other places where you worked, and you probably do two or three in a year, right? I mean, in terms of limbs that because you have to do other things, right? So maybe you do two, three in a year, or maybe four. Let's even say five, right? And then if you
Mm.
look at that number and multiply it by say 13 or 15 years, you'll still be odd. You still have done less than 100, right?
Absolutely.
You still have done less than 100. But thinking about the fact that you stepped out, you've done more than 600, right? That is a lot of value. That is a lot of impact. I mean, some of these things we cannot fully quantify the impact until maybe we get to the other side. Maybe as we see the children grow and are able to live normal life, you cannot. Do you get what I mean? We get a sense of fulfillment right here where we see them, go to school and grow up, contribute to society. But that is just a part of it. There is a ripple effect. There is that of that intervention that we may not be able to put numbers to, or we may not even know of until you know much, 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 much later, right? So thank you on behalf of all those kids, right? All those children. Thanks a lot, right? Now moving on
Mm.
in the conversation, right? Um, a two thoughts in my head, right? And I'm trying to see which one should I start with because you practically built an organization from scratch, right?
Mm.
But before you build the organization from scratch, you were, like you mentioned, briefly, I know you because, you are working in PNG. I happen to be working in PNG around that time too. And then you, you said you are leaving to go and, I mean, I understand when people leave and say, I got a job or I want to go and start a business or I want to go and, do you understand? We know that there is like maybe the financial, you know, um, motivation, or there is, an incentive, so to say, right? But to leave to go start a foundation, right? And I'm not sure the foundation was able to pay you what PNG was paying you, or all of those kind of stuff. It was just a bit too much for some of us to be able to process. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you can help double click how you navigated that turn. How did you get to that point that you are able to say, well, it is what it is, right? What has to be done has to be done, and then you took that step. Can you shed a little light on that?
Hmm. I think every entrepreneur needs to have a bit of madness to be able to deliver. It is that is in their heart and what they want to birth. And until you get to that point when you are that consumed with what it is that you want to give birth to, it might be very difficult for you to even have a glimpse of what it will look like. Um, if I mean, if you know me very well, one of the quotes that I came up with at some point and I have stayed with, and it kind of forms everything that I do, is that clarity does come in the place of doing. So as you do it, it kind of unfolds. You get better understanding. And so you need to keep doing. It cannot be in your mind. It cannot be assumed. You just have to consistently do the thing for you to see it. So um, like I said, in 2012, I was still with P&G, and we did we did two limbs, which was that double amputee. It In fact, it spanned into 2013, uh, because even though we're able to raise the money somewhere October, November, completing the process, going through it, and the child was not in Lagos at the time. The they don't even live in Lagos. They've moved from Enugu, I think, to Benue State now. They they were living in Enugu. So that means I had to go to Enugu. Remember, I don't have staff. I'm working for an organization. So my weekends were the times that I had and all of that. But by 2015 or before 2015, Irade's story started getting out there. In 2013,
Mm.
we had a lot of publication, um, Sun newspaper, Bella Niger. So people started knowing about the organization. And from
And you're
time to
still working in
time,
P&G at this time, right?
yes, I was working in P&G. And by the way, I had a
Mm.
very supportive manager at the time. My manager's name at the time is Choma Ede. Very, very
Hey,
amazing.
shout out to
Um,
Chema Hede.
Very amazing woman. And so I got a lot of support. She could understand every time I came to her that I had a speaking engagement. So I would go from time to time. They say, I'll come and talk to these women, come and do this one. So I'll take
Mm.
time off. Of course, some of this time, I took from my vacation days to adjust, but because vacation days were planned. So, but sometimes I have to, ask for something, like a quick one, go and speak here, go and speak there. By 2013, I hired someone to lead the organization. So I wasn't the face of the organization. I was still doing my job. Again, for me at that time, it wasn't the next best thing. It was just, oh, you continue to do what you love to do, help people and all of that. So I hired a resource. And she was the coordinator. Um she was running the organization day to day, going for meetings on my behalf. And then when I need to show up to speak, I'll come and speak. By the way, what then happened was, I mean, I resumed work then 8:39 and I would close by 5. So my staff resumed to my house by 7 a.m. in the morning. So we will do our debrief between 7 and 8 for everything that we need to achieve for the day, for the week. And then she waits for me to come back from work and then we do another debrief. So, like I would say, I did P&G work in the morning and I did the radio work at night because if she had anything to review, work on, and all of that, I would do that before the next morning. Because if
Morning.
I don't, then she might not have the clarity she
Be
needed
able to do
to
stuff.
the
Mm.
things that she needed to do. So I mean, this was how we managed 2013, 2014. Then in 2014, I had an invite to come and speak at um, CSW in New York in 2015 of March. So November of 2014, I sat with my manager and told her that, you know what, I want to stay. And by this time, the way P&G multinationals work is, the assignment changes and conversations and all of that. And I said, I am sure that in 2015, I am going to leave. I don't know when, but I just wanted to tell you ahead of time. And by the way, sometimes in 2014, I wanted to, I was in sales all through when I joined P&G. So I wanted to do like an assignment change to something that would help me to run the nonprofit. But again, with the benefit of hindsight, I think when God just does things sometimes, He just programs it in such a way that in your head you can plan it and say this is going to pan out. Yeah, you're putting up strategy and all of that, but it has a different path because I think maybe even learning that part, I'm not sure of where it really will be today because I'd have been so fixed on this is how it needs to work. The flexibility and agility that is needed would not be there. So this was November. And so it became difficult for my manager to plan assignments for me. Then in March, I went to the UN, had this side event, where I was talking about children with disabilities and the opportunities that existed and all of that. And by the time I was done with my talk that day, I knew that I needed to leave. Um, Things were not in place. It wasn't like again, it was from November the previous year that I started thinking about it. But I didn't think I was going to make that decision that quick. But after that conversation at the UN, I knew that it was time for me to leave. So immediately I got back from that event. I sat with my manager and I gave a 3 months notice. Um, you know, to leave the organization. And at the time, the fiscal year for P&G would end anyways at the time. So I gave 3 months to so I knew that by June I would be ready to leave. And so then got home, sat with my husband and told my husband that I'd given my notice to resign. My husband said, "What's going on with you?" I said, but I really feel like this Irede Foundation, if I give it everything, it will go. My husband said, are you sure you know what it is that you're doing? But again, I told you I'm a person of faith. So I went back again and said, this thing that I wrote down 3 years ago, what's the path? So beyond, I prayed about it. I had so much release and peace. I knew that I should be spending time, doing Irede full time. And so I then started sitting with people, mentors, guides to say, eh, this is the decision that I'm making. I don't know what next and all of that. So I sat with someone then, and we did like a business plan for Irede. Um, he was a clear business plan on what's the model, how is he going to run, what is going to, so um after we were done with that work, I knew that I needed to go back to school because I didn't have any understanding about running a nonprofit. But also at the time, I'd secured my husband's commitment to support me financially to manage through the season. You know, I didn't know how long this season was going to be for, though. But I at the back of my mind, in another 6 months to 1 year, you should be fine, and all of that. So, at the end of June of 2015, I left. Left Procter and Gamble, but I did not get a break. I went to school immediately to study social management, to understand, because again, Irede work was progressive, right? Going, nobody told me resign your job or anything. My staff at the time did not even know that our manager was resigning. She thought I still work with P&G. So I went to school for about 6 months, did a 6 months course on managing sector. I started seeing some gaps that I had. I started seeing that I had a bit of structure. Things were not well put together or written down. There were a lot of things that I was doing with my emotions. And again, starting this particular business was from a place of passion, right? And emotion. So I there were too many emotional things going on. So I had to sit back and ask the questions. How do we fix this? And again, my persona is I'm a people person. So again, working with yeah, emotion is critical for you to be able to deliver the job, right? But I knew I had to put some set structures in place. So I started having meetings with my board members. We started re-strategizing, and that's how we got to the point where I transitioned from P&G to Irede Foundation in 2015. So 3 years after the organization had started, was when I finally moved to work full time for Irede, and I've been working full time for Irede since then.
Since then.
Now I'm running my
Okay, oh, I hear you. When I grow up, I want to be like you. Uh, uh, Crystal, thanks a lot for all that you've shared. I mean, it's good to see that it wasn't just something you just did at a whim, right? Like you just woke up and you're like, okay, you understand that you went through a rigorous process of thinking it through, right? Getting a lot of guidance, a lot of input, right? From not just stakeholders, but from, counselors, people who kind of knew better, who have probably gone ahead in that journey. And all of that helped you, even sent you back to school, more or less. And because if you look at how far you've gone in 13 years, I'm sure that without that foundation, I doubt if you will have been able to go that far, right? So it's great to see that you manage that transition. I mean, for some other people, perhaps it won't work like that. It will have to be like a hard stop kind of thing. But different strokes for different folks, right? And for you, it's like a phased thing, and you're able to move out. Now, in the course of this last thoughts that you shared, you double click sorry, you spoke a little bit about you having a board and all of that, and I just feel like I think we should delve into a little bit into the organization, right? So you've mentioned that when you are starting out you only had just one staff, right? But it looks like beyond the staff that does day-to-day operation, you have some kind of governance in place, right? Will you be able to share some thoughts around that? What inspired that? How did you go about it, and all of that? And what kind of touch points, right, or drum beats, as we used to say, do you have in place to ensure that people are not just sitting down, but they're actually, bringing a lot of value to what you do at Irede Foundation?
Thank you very much, Kunle. Like I said, so we do have the board of trustees. In fact, before you register a nonprofit anywhere in the world, you need to have your board of trustees, board of directors. Different countries call it different names, but again, you need to have a board, people that sit down and give strategic direction to the organization. In fact, the meaning of the board of trustees is that they hold the organization in trust for the beneficiaries of the organization. That you founded the organization does not necessarily mean you are the owner of the organization. The board of trustees are the owner of the organization. So, the meaning of the word trustee is that you are holding in trust, and the people you are holding in trust for are the communities you serve. So in our own case, they are the champions, they are caregivers, they are the youth with disabilities that we work with. So the board holds in trust everything that you committed that you're going to do. So we have that layer of governance. Then we have those that we call the advisory board. The advisory board are um, they are experts in different areas, and they provide again, advice, just like the name says, on key things that you want to work on. So, for instance, we have someone that is an orthopedic surgeon on our advisory board. And because we work with children with disabilities, he's able to give guidance, instructions, uh, support, and advice on this is how this needs to be handled. We have someone in finance, we have someone in HR, and we have all of that. Then we have those that are a bunch of people that I call friends of Irede. And friends of Irede basically give their time, their treasure, and their talent to Irede Foundation. They might not necessarily be on any document per se to say these people are this, but they are like our core, for lack of a better word, high net worth individual volunteers for Irede because they provide strategic guidance. They spend their time to do some work for us at Irede. They spend their time to in some cases they are spending their money. So they are donating, they are leading ahead with spending their funds to do one or two things that we need, and then they are also bringing their talent to play as they do the work. After that is the executive director. And this just almost looks like the organogram of the organization, right? So we have the executive director. We have one of those, friends of Irede that serves as an internal auditor for us. And then we also external auditor. So an internal auditor that just ensures that our books that we're keeping are rightly done, looking through everything, and we also do have external auditors that audit us on an annual basis. They come in, they do the audits, they give their recommendations and what they found out at the end of the year, and then we file to the government on that. And then we do have the staff. And at the bottom of the chain of the staff, we do have interns and volunteers again, because we have this set of volunteers so that come in from time to time, spend their time to work, or maybe people that are going through internship in school and they need a place to intern. And there's an alignment between what they are doing and what we're doing at Irede. And then they come and intern for 3 months, for 6 months, as the case may be, and then they leave. So that's what the structure um kind of looks like. But the board meets 4 times a year statutorily. They meet. They have to meet. They meet like every quarter. And if there is any emergency meeting or something, then they call for a meeting and also meet. But statutory meeting, we try to structure the conversations that need to happen in such a way that over that times that we are meeting, we're having the needed conversations. So yeah, so we have two separate boards because Irede also is registered in the US now. So we have like the board for the Nigerian team, and then we do have a board for the US section also.
Wow, wow, wow. Thanks a lot. Now, that is super helpful to hear, right? In terms of the governance structure that you have in place or you've built over the years, right? But I don't want to
Mm.
demotivate somebody who is just starting out and like, do I need to have all of that to be successful, right? Or to even get started? No,
And
no,
Kunle, some of
I'm,
these things that you evolved, and you're part of this process. You evolved over the years, right?
yes, I know it evolves. So I mean, as super helpful what you have shared, right? But I wanted to just step back a little bit and say, okay, when we were starting out, we only had this and we had this, and that kept us going for a while, and then we started adding to it as we became bigger. What would that look like for somebody who's just like setting out
So we had the board of trustees, like I said, for you to set up in
to
Nigeria,
register to set up? Yeah.
or anyway, you
Mm.
need to. So we had board of trustees. There was myself as the executive director, and then I had one staff, um, and volunteers. And these volunteers, again, I tell people when you're starting off, your friends and family are very helpful, and the
Mm.
volunteers were my friends, from bullying
Mm.
to begging to forcing. Somehow all my friends were involved. So I knew their strength and the different things that they could do for me. So I
Yeah.
had a friend at the time. She's a marketing and communications person. So she was default, my marketing person. So every time we needed to write a copy or anything, I would defer to her. And
Mm,
all I needed to do was sit down and tell her exactly what I wanted. And,
mm.
she would spend 1 to 2 hours just, doing it. I had you. You were everything. I had finance. I have somebody that is HR. So I just used friends to deliver those things. And then I had my coordinator at the time, which was my only staff then. And she was responsible for now executing the strategic things that these people have put in place. So at the time, we were just two staff and the board. And the board did not meet 4 times. Then the board was meeting like maybe, in fact, they were just the first year, they were just board on paper because we needed to. It was the second year. And then by the third year, when I had gone to school, then I realized that wait, oh, there's what the law says. And that's when we start structuring in terms of the number of times they met, their involvement, and all of that. So yeah. So I think that if you're starting newly, you need these statutory board members. And if you're just starting, really, I want to beg you to take your time to select your board. Your board members should not be family and friends and all of that. Look at the people that will help forge, the people that have the time to show up for your meetings, the people that have the skills that you need and, are committed to your vision to sit on your board. And then myself at the time and my coordinators, and you need those volunteers, especially for a social business. You don't need to go and hire all of these people. You can get them in volunteers. There's a pool of people looking for how to give back to their communities. Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate 1 or 2 things that you want to do differently in your own entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and please see you on the next episode.